Bom dia, colegas. Meu nome é Arsen Sugoyan, eu sou colaborador do escritório da Apex-Brasil aqui na Rússia. Estamos transmitindo ao vivo e ficamos muito felizes de poder apresentar para vocês esse webinar dedicado ao tema de registro de equipamento médico no mercado russo. Esse evento surgiu depois de uma participação brasileira bastante expressiva na Feira Здравоохранения 2018, do ano passado, onde estiveram 5 empresas exportadores brasileiras e o principal assunto que todas essas empresas levantaram era o problema de registro, porque o procedimento é bastante complicado e complexo e todos os representantes pediram que a Apex pudesse apoiar na questão de divulgação dessa informação. Para isso, eu fico muito feliz de apresentar para vocês o nosso palestrante de hoje. Se chama Andrey Vilenskiy, ele é diretor geral da empresa de consultoria MEDITEX, que atua exclusivamente na área de registro de equipamentos médicos, aqui na Rússia e na região euroasiática. Ele é um dos pioneiros do marketing na esfera de medicina e equipamento médico aqui na Rússia. Ele possui mais de 40 publicações nas principais revistas e edições desse setor e ele é membro da Academia de Ciências Técnicas e Medicinas da Rússia. Ele vai compartilhar com vocês alguns dados sobre o mercado russo de equipamento médico e, claro, os detalhes do processo de registro desse equipamento importado aqui na Rússia. Por favor, fiquem à vontade de deixar as suas perguntas no chat que vocês veem aqui ao lado. Já recebemos com bastante antecedência algumas perguntas que o nosso palestrante já se preparou para responder. Por isso, eu vou estar monitorando as perguntas de vocês no chat ao vivo para podermos responder na hora. Depois da gravação, o vídeo desse webinar vai ser divulgado e colocado no canal YouTube da ApexBrasil. Por isso, essa informação é muito importante e eu acho que vocês vão desfrutar muito desse evento. Muito obrigado. Now I'd like to pass the word to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Vilenskiy. Now you could introduce something about your company.
Thank you. Thank you, Arsen. So, I am Andrey Vilenskiy and from MEDITEX company. I'm very glad to participate in this meeting. So, and now I'll try to tell you about Russian medical device market and its possibilities for the manufacturers of medical device. So, first of all, a couple of words about our company. What is MEDITEX? So we are the medical device market access agency, full cycle agency, and what we do, we help manufacturers and distributors to enter Russian medical device market. So we could perform market research and some analytical projects. We help to register medical products on Russian market. So we organize some meetings, some conferences and educational projects for medical device companies and some other activities, maybe standardization in Russia and so on. So we know practically everything about medical device market and help companies to develop the activity and the market as well. The first part of my speech about the medical device and healthcare market in Russia. So you can see that we still have funding for the healthcare, and we still have money, and the volume of money for healthcare system is increasing every year. So the healthcare system is one of the priorities of Russian government. So this is the priority sphere of its maybe for the resources in this, and so the medical device market is increasing as well. We have very development maybe of high-tech medical care. So it was a little spending for it some years ago, but now it's increasing significantly. Maybe you know that from the last year we have a new federal project, new national project, healthcare in Russia, and which consists of some federal projects for primary health care, for cardiovascular disease, oncological program, and some other. And Russian government has additional funding for the healthcare system only for this new national project. It's additional to for budget spending as usual. And so what we can see that the dynamics of medtech market, medical device market in Russia is very positive. So it's increasing, and this year we plan that the total volume of Russian medtech market will be more than 300 billion rubles. So it's Russian medical device market is still not so big in general. It's about 2% of the world medtech market, but it is very very good in dynamics, so that is better than in European countries. What we have in medical devices in Russia, this is a segment structure of the market. It's very similar to European market, and the biggest segment is in vitro diagnostics, and then we have surgery, medical imaging, rehabilitation, and some other, but the main and the most interest segment is in vitro diagnostics. As I said earlier, we have a very big potential of the market. So here you can see the growth potential right here for some countries. It's about spending per capita medical devices per year, and we have a very, very big ratio to main European countries, to USA. So it's very interesting for maybe investors about Russian medical device market. So it will this gap is guarantee of the increasing of medical device market in Russia for several times in the nearest future. The next very important figure is the ratio of import and domestic production for Russian Federation. We have little more than 20% of the local production. I mean the products that that is local for our legislation, so that the production is located in Russia. But this figure is not suitable for our government, and they want to increase maybe for this ratio for to the 40%. So it's maybe very interesting for foreign manufacturers because it's potential for localization the products here in Russia. Some words about import. As I said, the most about 80% of all the medical products in Russia is import. So where are they from? They are from, of course, Europe. It's maybe half of all the import is from USA and from Asia as China and Japan. So they have and very little from Brazil right now. This is our situation with the import, and this is a challenge maybe for you to be here. Another figure of the structure of Russian medtech market. So who is the main maybe customer? The main customer in Russia for medical devices is government. So the state sector is practically 70% of all of the market. So it's procurement system for the state maybe clinics. Another 10% of the market is we say departmental sector is practically government system as well, but it's state companies who buy medical devices separately from government, but it's still the governmental sector. And the last one is the private sector. It's private clinics, and of course it's people from with such medical devices as blood pressure meters, some thermometers, and so on. So this is the general structure, and that's why we said that the government is the main customers and the regulator of this market. So this is the procurement system in Russia. So the main form of the activities in this sphere is electronic auction, And what you should know that some domestic suppliers are granted 15% of price advantage, and local manufacturers are granted by government and have some other advantages on the procurement system for only for government procurement system. Of course, as we have a procurement system and the government system, and it's related to the budget, we have this seasonal structure. Not all months are similar, so we have some more activities in the end of the year and in the middle of the year, and then we have another another structure of market. And as for the some figures of market, it's not very easy in Russia to take some marketing information about the volumes of any segment. So that's why we help companies to perform some marketing research. We analyze some segment of the market by the request of the customers, and where we can find the digits, and of course in the Federal Customs Service, from the procurement system, I mean the special information system for procurement, and it's a state system, but it's not very easy. It's a complicated system, and then we try to get some adequate digits, some figures of this market, and we can translate it to the customers. As I said earlier, we have industrial policy, new industrial policy in Russia, as you may know, that also called buy local. So the government give financial support for local manufacturers and localized manufacturers as well. It's financial, it's informational support, and this is the factor you have to solve when you enter Russian medtech market. So we have local industrial policy. It's very important, and but it's a challenge, and it's a chance for some companies to easier enter to the market. One of the main document and instrument of this industrial policy is a decree of government number 102. This is a restriction, some kind of restriction. So for now it's about 200 types of medical devices in this list. For what government will not buy import devices if we have two or more local manufacturers of these kind of devices. So the local in this case, it means that they have a special certificate of the origin of the product. It may be import device, but localized on the Russian side, maybe. So it's about 200 devices that you cannot sell in Russia in the procurement system, of course. If we have 2 or more local manufacturers and they went to this procedure. This is a chance for and interest for many foreign companies to localize production in Russia, to maybe to enter these markets and to enter the procurement system. So there are some scenarios of localization strategy, and we help companies to choose the one of these scenarios. It's not only you have to build the site. It may be only contract manufacturing. It may be you can find the right partner in Russia, and then obtain the certificate and go to the procurement and sell your product. So it's a lot of cases, and every case is individual. So we know the system, and we can find the solution for for every case and every product, and they are different. So as for regulation of medical device, first of all, what is medical devices in Russia? Here you can see the definition in our main law, the basis of health protection in the Russian Federation, the Article 38. They say that medical devices are any instrument, apparatus, and so on. It's very similar to European definition of the World Health Organization. But we still have some differences, very small differences, but they are in the definition, and practically, if this device is medical device in Europe, then in Russia it will be medical device as well. So the software, medical software is medical device too in Russian legislation. Implants and so on is medical device. As for prosthesis and some other kind of individual devices for rehabilitation, they are medical devices, but they have not to be registered for every individual device, but the main, we call it family device, should be registered, of course, or material from which is manufactured the individual device should be registered as well as medical device. So this is the rule for this definition, for the legislation we have in Russia. this is the whole regulatory environment. So as most of the countries, we have regulation for the whole medical devices life cycle from the research to disposal. And unfortunately, we have a lot of structures, governmental structures, that can affect for the medical devices life cycle. The main regulator is Ministry of Health and Federal Service for healthcare. But there are a lot of documents and maybe acts of some other governmental structures that you can find, and you have to know for the success in Russian medical device market. The basic law, as I say, is on the fundamental of healthcare protection, and we have 3 articles in them for medical devices, and about 20 or 25 orders of Ministry of Health, and this is the main basis maybe for legislation, only the main, but we have a lot of another documents, and the whole system of the regulation is very complicated. So some time ago, maybe 10 years ago, the regulation system for medical devices was very simple. And now it's not. It's very, very, very complicated, and you have to read all of these acts, all of these orders, all of these articles in law, and maybe some letters of our regulator to make the right steps for the registration and to entering the market. Here is the flow chart for the most types of medical devices for classes 2A, 2B, and 3. So we have 2 stages of registration. The first stage, which consists of preparation of the dossier, the documents, and perform all of the technical maybe testing. So this technical test, toxicological test, and the preparation of the dossier. And then you have to give all these documents to the regulator, to the Roszdravnadzor, and they perform the first expertise of the documents. And if they have no objections, they give you the permission for clinical trials. And this stage 2 is clinical trials, and then again they have expertise, and then you get the registration certificate. So the only exception is devices of class 1 and in vitro devices. So this is one stage procedure. So you can the first stage is the same, plus clinical trials that you perform before the expertise, and then only one expertise and registration certificate. So this is a simple flow chart only for class 1 devices and in vitro devices. In this slide you can see the simplified scheme with some terms from the legislation and from our experience as well, with some stages of the procedure from your point of view. So, and the main required document list. It's not all of the documents because they differ from case to case, and it depends of what kind of the device do you plan to register. But the basic list is here. So, as I said earlier, one of the keys to success of the registration is to prepare the right documentation, right dossier. It consists of some parts, and the main of them is technical documentation. So it's the basis of the dossier that you can prepare for the Roszdravnadzor. Technical documentation, it's manufacturer's documentation, which can be technical file extract, maybe operation procedure extract. So for the foreign manufacturers, it's you have to choose what kind of documents you will prepare. For the local manufacturers, it's only one document, so you have to choose. And what is consist? It's not this very important accent. The technical file you provide for your government, maybe for European notified body, it's not the same technical file that is needed for Roszdravnadzor here in Russia, and you have to make significant changes to it. So as for Russian legislation, it's not the same document. So what it should contain: so information about the design, information about technical requirements, some data for development, production, use and operation, and so on. And we have the separate order of Ministry of Health that regulates what is technical file consists. So the second part of this dossier of the documentation is operational documentation. So it may be operation guide, it may be instruction for use, it's user manual, installation guide. It's about labeling as well. So the same system, operational documents, is very important part, but may be not the same as in your country, as for Europe, as for USA, and so on. So you can make some changes for Russian legislation. This is the order of Ministry of Health, as I mentioned, about approval of requirements to the content of technical and operational documentation of medical devices manufacturer. So this is the main document that regulates the consisting of these documents. So this is our recommendation for technical documentation content it's only recommendation. You can make it as you wish, but we recommend, and this is proper for the this order, what the content is in the technical documentation. So, and for in vitro diagnostics devices, some excludes as well in this slide. Then the stage of some tests and study. About toxicological study is obligatory only in case of medical devices in direct or mediated contact with the human body, and it may be as the patient and the doctor, the personal. So, and medical device includes components that are in contact with the human body. So in this case, the toxicological studies and toxicological tests are obligatory. So for the materials that have direct contact, so it's obligatory. You can in special you can perform this test in special accredited laboratories for toxicological studies. There are some of them. We have about 6 or 7 laboratories in Russia for toxicological studies. After that, or maybe in parallel system, you can perform the technical tests. That's the main stage to determine the compliance of the technical characteristics of medical device with the requirements of regulatory, technical and operational documentation, and to make a decision on possibility of clinical trials. So as well, we have some laboratory, accredited laboratories, only accredited laboratories you can use for the technical and toxicological trials. Unfortunately, we have not sufficient maybe quantity of these laboratory, but they are in market, so you can find them and go and perform all the necessary tests. And then only after you get special permission, you can perform clinical trials. And there are 2 forms of clinical trials. In the form of research, so it's analysis and evaluation of clinical data, and in the form of tests including human participation. It's very complicated system, and all of the Russian clinics do not like to perform this type of clinical trials. So you have to find the similar products that you can say that it is an analog of your products, and then you can do clinical trials in the form of the research and of analysis and evaluation of clinical data. It's the main form of these kind of trials. And then you can obtain the registration certificate, but as I said earlier, we have the regulation system for the whole life cycle of medical device. So we have the monitoring system, medical device safety monitoring for of Roszdravnadzor, and that's why you need to have an official representative in Russia for your devices, and you can you have to specify it on the labeling and the documentation, who is responsible for the monitoring, safety monitoring of your medical devices. It's not very sophisticated as maybe in USA, but we have this system, and the main topic is to choose your official representative in Russia for the safety monitoring. A couple of words about our new system. We have the Eurasian Economic Union with 5 states. It's not only Russia, it's Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzia, and we have the common market of medical devices. And in this common market, in this union, we have a new system of the regulation of medical devices, but it still do not working properly. So we have a transition period for this system. It's to 2021, but it's already we have a decision for the transition period will be for 2026, and that's why we can say only about national registration system, because this system is not working, and there are no registration certificates of from this system for now. Maybe some issues about medical device registration. We have a lot of problems. The system is very complicated, very sophisticated, maybe unlogical in some cases. So there are a lot of acts, a lot of documents you have to pay attention, and that's why you need to use the help of the professionals in this sphere, which can do proper steps in these cases. So we, of course, we help companies to do all of this process. We prepare the dossier, prepare the documents with all types of the translations. We can help to select proper laboratories to perform all types of studies, tests, trials, and so on, to create the dossier, and so to support all the process from the beginning to the obtaining of the certificate. Of course, we have a lot of another activities as for market access services. It's market access strategy, it's about state registration, about localization, about marketing research, and so on. So we will be ready to help all the companies to enter Russian markets. And we welcome to Russia. And now I'll try to answer maybe the questions. First of all, some questions that were before our webinar. So for the registration. Any foreign manufacturers can register his products for himself. The only exception is, as I said, that you must have a Russian company authorized representative for the monitoring, but for the registration certificate, you may obtain it for your own company. It's very good way, so many of companies do this. About the politics and healthcare in Russia, it's not some maybe sanctions and so on. It's not effect on the sector of healthcare. So in medical devices, in the maybe medicines, in the healthcare whole, we have no sanctions from all over the world. It's we do not hear and see them in this sector. It's free sector from all of the politics, all of the sanctions on. About the distributors, so it's very important but very complicated question. So the best way to find the distributor is to take part in the exhibition. So the main exhibition in Russia is Здравоохранение in December in Expo Center, and there you can order the booth, and there are a lot of distributors, and federal distributors or local, maybe regional, some dealers and distributors. All of them are there, and they find the new products there. But they like, for today, it's today's situation, they like you to have already a registration certificate. They do not obtain it from themselves. So if you have a registration certificate and then you take part on the exhibitions or some conferences of any segments of medical devices, it's the best way to find the dealer or distributor for your products. So what kind of questions we have?
We have a general question about the presentation, if you would be able to share it.
Yes, sure.
And specifically about this list of 200 items that you cannot import if there are more than two producers in Russia. Is it possible for you to...
Yes, sure. So we have an order of Ministry of Industry and Trade. So this list is added practically every year. So initially there were only 46 positions. Now we have more than 200 positions, and this act is adding every year. So the actual version we can share with the companies. Of course, it's not a problem.
Great. There was another question, I think, before our webinar about the implants and about implants. If there is any special legislation about registration of this type of medical technical equipment.
I said that the implants are medical devices, so all of the procedures are the same, but the most of implants are the highest, the third class of risk. So maybe it can be more expensive and more timely procedure. So this is the only difference. Not there are no some other differences from the most of medical devices.
And another question, I think most of the Brazilian producers, when they have first contacts with Russian distributors, they have this delicate problem of knowing the partner. I mean, of knowing the legitimacy of his business and market share that he occupies in the Russian market. So, can you give a recommendation to our Brazilian companies about the way they could investigate and understand the potential of the prospective Russian importer?
It's not very easy. It's most of the companies have this kind of problems with the Russian companies. So we try to help companies to research this the segment of the market. It's the first, and second, we try to perform some maybe due diligence of the potential distributors. So it's not in every case, but in some segment we know all the main players, maybe the shares. In some segment, no, but we try to find the information because we have our inside maybe information, and we have a lot of information from open sources here for several years. So we have some special informational basis, databases for this segment for medical companies and as distributors or some other companies. So we try to do it to help companies to make a right choice.
So there is no single official database
of
companies. No. So in case you want to learn more about your potential Russian importer, please consult companies like MEDITEX, because there would be impossible for you to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Partly because it's in Russian.
Unfortunately, it's true. Yes, we have no official lists or governmental lists of the players. So we have not. So only research, only this analysis is the way. So.
And a question about your company, your experience among the international clients that MEDITEX had. What is the what is the maximum percentage of companies that you receive? Which segment of the odontological equipment, in vitro, is there a trend? Because you are a single entry point for many companies.
Yes.
And you may experience this trend on your company. So how do you feel? What is the trend coming from outside to Russia?
From our point of view, the trend is, of course, in vitro diagnostic. A lot of companies and manufacturers of in vitro diagnostics. The last 2 years, we can see many companies with dental devices, implants, dental implants systems, and maybe single-use devices. So this, I can say about these 3 main trends, maybe so. But we have not very big quantity of companies with imaging, maybe. So these are in vitro and single use and dental device and software. So.
So I think, colleagues, that's it for our webinar, because I think we have managed to answer all the questions that we had. We are really grateful to our partners, ABIMO, the association, for helping us with dissemination of the information about this event. And in case of any questions, you could always send them to the address my email or email that Andrey put in his presentation. We will be very glad to help you to get all the answers that you need. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in Russia.
Thank you.